My name is Katherine Robinson, and for my final project in Sociology of Crime and Violence, I've chosen to research the topic of intervention on the issue of campus rape. I began my research using an article involving a University of Virginia student known only as Jackie, who had falsely claimed that she had been gang raped during a party hosted by a fraternity on campus. Jackie's story not only ruined the lives of her alleged attackers, but it added to the stigma attached to rape. And in essence, it added to the difficulty that actual victims of sexual assault face when reporting their attack. My research explores the scientific data and research involving campus rape, the perpetrators of sexual assault that occur on campus, how many of those are committed by classmates, how many lead to a prosecution, and what's being done to prevent future cases of rape on campus. Campus rape is a very real issue in society that needs to be addressed. The ultimate goal of the social advocacy group that I created for this project is to promote education, awareness, and prevention of campus rape, along with also providing support for survivors of sexual assault. Throughout this project, I've referenced the Rolling Stone article, several articles from academic journals that discuss the correlation between rapes that occur on campus and fraternities, and statistics from multiple organizations that are dedicated to sexual assault prevention and awareness. You can find a list of references in the About section of this video. My theory is that by providing education, tips for prevention, support for survivors, and improving the way colleges handle campus rape cases, society could greatly decrease the number of sexual assaults that happen on campus each year. The main focus of my advocacy group would be to promote awareness and to provide support and resources for survivors of sexual assault. While working toward prevention of sexual assault is very important, it's vital that the victims of campus rape are able to feel safe coming forward to report the attack. Being a crisis counselor for an organization like Crisis Text Line has taught me that a lot of times people just need someone to listen, but they don't want to be judged, and they often don't feel comfortable talking to their family or friends about their problems, especially when it's a sexual assault. So providing an outlet similar to Crisis Text Line could be extremely beneficial for those who have been sexually assaulted. An anonymous safe space that is specific to sexual assault could encourage victims to come forward, report the attack, and to even seek counseling for any negative emotional impact that the assault may have had on them. Every 2 minutes, someone in the United States is sexually assaulted. 1 out of 6 American women has been the victim of an attempted or completed rape at some point in her lifetime. And the United States ranks 6th in the world among countries with the highest rape rates. According to the National Alliance to End Sexual Violence, 1 in 5 women has been sexually assaulted while in college. The NAESB then goes on to say that only a small fraction of these rapes are even reported, and this is allowing offenders who typically have multiple victims to escape punishment, and it's creating an unsafe environment for students. Only 12% of college rape survivors will ever report their rape to the police. When considering campus rape, there are several stereotypes that people automatically assume to be true. These include, but are not limited to, rapists are always strangers. People who use drugs or alcohol are unable to know whether they really consented or not. That rape only happens in isolated areas, and that women who dress provocatively or act promiscuously are asking to be raped. The UK's Coventry Rape and Sexual Abuse Centre disputes these common myths involving campus rape. According to the CRASAC, 90% of serious sexual offenses are perpetrated by someone known to the victim. They also state that someone who is drunk, drugged, or unconscious cannot legally consent to sex. It is also mentioned that 60% of women are assaulted inside of a public building. 31% are assaulted inside of their own home. This decimates the common belief that rape typically occurs only in secluded locations. The Coventry also stated that just because a woman dresses provocatively or has multiple partners does not make her okay with unconsented sexual advances. On the flip side of this, in false rape allegations, like the one detailed in Rolling Stone magazine by a University of Virginia student, society feeds into stereotypes regarding rapists as well. It was easy for the author of Rolling Stone to empathize with the alleged victim and to believe her story because a group of drunken frat boys gang raping an unsuspecting student seemed legitimate. We hear a lot of cases of campus rape where a female student is assaulted by a member of society, and this has caused society to view all frat boys as deviants. Society assumes that all rapists are monsters or horrible people, when in fact, the majority of rapists are actually respected members of their community. It's also worth noting that being a rapist is not indicative of the presence of a psychological disorder. Only a small percentage of rapists actually need psychological treatment or suffer from a mental illness at all. In 1957, a sociologist named Eugene Cannon theorized that men use secrecy and the negative stigma attached to rape in order to pressure, coerce, and exploit their female counterparts. According to the NPR, in the 1980s, the term date rape was coined, and at that time, 7.7% of male students stated anonymously that they had either attempted or engaged in rape. Shockingly, when questioned further, none of them viewed their actions as being a crime. Throughout the reported history of campus rape, one thing has always remained constant. That single, unchanging constant is the fact that patriarchy saturates campus rape culture. Unfortunately, the patriarchy that is present on most college campuses exploits the victim's distress and also tends to shift the blame for the assault from the perpetrator to the victim, which instills a sense of shame and a decrease in the victim's image of self-worth. The Hampton Institute states that 90% of campus rapes are perpetrated by only about 3% of college men, meaning that if those who commit sexual assaults were prosecuted, the number of annual sexual assaults on campus would drop dramatically. To do this, the attacks have to be reported and the perpetrator has to be held accountable and punished for their crime. Beginning in 2011, the Obama administration began changing the way that society and the government view campus rape. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, on April 29, 2011, the White House Task Force to Protect Students from Sexual Assault presented a report titled Not Alone. The report from the task force provides schools and colleges with practices and guidelines regarding sexual assault while also improving communication and transparency with the federal government's on-campus sexual assault enforcement activities. And this report one of its purposes is to hold schools and colleges accountable for confronting sexual assault head-on, rather than deferring the responsibility to someone else. So, with the proper education, social advocacy, and reporting, rates of sexual assault on campuses could be greatly reduced, and victims could be provided with help and support that they need in order to cope with the after effects of their attack and to feel safe enough to come forward and report the attack so that their attacker could be held accountable for their actions. Thank you.